Sure. Here's a 500-word story that creatively brings the topic 12 household chores that aren't worth doing after 70. Simplify your life to life through a warm and engaging narrative. Simplify like Sylvia, letting go of the pointless chores. Sylvia Reynolds was the kind of woman who used to iron pillowcases. Yes, pillowcases. At 76, she'd spent her life keeping a spotless home, the kind where guests wiped their feet twice, even if it wasn't raining. But something changed one summer morning as she sat sipping her coffee, watching a squirrel steal strawberries from her garden. She chuckled and thought, why am I still doing all this when I just want to enjoy my strawberries too? That's when Sylvia made a bold decision. She was done with the chores that no longer served her. She grabbed a notepad and wrote across the top, chores to ditch after 70. 1. Ironing anything unnecessary. Life was too short to iron bed sheets or napkins. 2. Polishing silverware. Her old tea set could stay tarnished. It hadn't hosted tea since 1999. 3. Washing windows every month. Once or twice a year was fine. The birds didn't care. 4. Deep cleaning behind appliances. If no one could see the dust, it wasn't a priority. Repainting rooms every few years. The walls held memories and color just fine. 6. Scrubbing baseboards. Who was crawling on the floor to inspect them anyway? 7. Ironing curtains. Wrinkles fall out with time, just like worries. 8. Trimming hedges weekly. She hired a neighbor's teen to do that, and he needed the money. 9. Hand-washing delicates. The gentle cycle was invented for a reason. 10. Vacuuming every single day. She bought a robot vacuum and named it Fred. 11. Folding plastic bags. She used to store them in perfect triangles. Now, crumpled in a drawer. 12. Reorganizing storage boxes. If it hadn't been touched in 5 years, she probably didn't need it. With each task she released, she felt lighter. The pressure to maintain a magazine-perfect home had come from decades of expectations. Her mother's standards, society's messages, and her own pride. But now she just wanted peace and freedom. Sylvia called her daughter later that day. You'll never guess. I made a list of all the chores I'm never doing again, she laughed. Finally, Mom, her daughter said. You've earned it. The next day, Sylvia took a walk without guilt over dishes in the sink. She sat in the sun with a book instead of chasing specks of dust with a cloth. Her house wasn't perfect anymore, but it was comfortable, joyful, and lived in. And more importantly, so was she. Letting go of those chores didn't mean letting herself go. It meant choosing what mattered most: time, health, and happiness. Sylvia hadn't stopped caring. She just learned to care smarter. Would you like me to create an AI voiceover of part of this story? I can turn 2 sentences into spoken audio using a voice of your choice. Absolutely. Here's an additional 500-word paragraph, more like a continuation in full-scene narrative that deepens Sylvia's story and expands on her emotional journey and practical changes after choosing to simplify her life. The more Sylvia leaned into her new philosophy of less is more, the more she noticed how much time she had been giving away to routines that no longer gave anything back. One morning, she stood in her hallway staring at a dusty box labeled seasonal linens. Years ago, she would swap her tablecloths 4 times a year. Spring florals, summer blues, autumn leaves, and winter snowflakes. She hadn't entertained in years. What am I doing? She muttered, pulling the box from the shelf. An hour later, the linens were packed in a donation bag, along with 5 holiday-themed soap dispensers and 6 unused aprons. That closet, once packed tight, now had space for her yoga mat and walking shoes. It felt like a tiny victory. Sylvia also rethought how much she was still doing on her own. She had resisted outside help for years, believing it was a sign of weakness. But now she realized that accepting help wasn't giving up, it was smart. She found a cheerful local cleaner to visit once a month. Her grandson installed a smart thermostat and voice-activated lights. These little upgrades made her home more comfortable and safe and gave her time for things she truly loved. She also stopped multitasking. Gone were the days of vacuuming while soup simmered and laundry buzzed in the background. She began doing one thing at a time, watering her plants slowly, journaling by the window, enjoying a cup of tea without mentally checking off a to-do list. The world didn't fall apart when the laundry waited another day. In fact, the world finally felt quieter, soothing, not rushed. Socially, her new outlook brought more connection. With less housework and fewer chores, she said yes to lunch dates more often. She joined a book club at the library. She even started volunteering at a local animal shelter twice a week, giving belly rubs to rescue dogs and chatting with other volunteers. Her calendar used to be filled with cleaning schedules and grocery lists. Now it had game nights, coffee dates, and watercolor classes. Sylvia even tackled her garden differently. Instead of keeping it pristine, she let it grow more naturally. Wildflowers replaced high-maintenance rose bushes. She sat on the porch and watched butterflies flit around her yard, marveling at how beautiful things could be when they weren't micromanaged. And the best part? She finally felt her life was her own again. Not dictated by an outdated sense of obligation or invisible standards, but guided by joy, ease, and intention. Her home became a place of calm, not a never-ending checklist. Her days slowed down in the best way possible. She smiled at her reflection one morning and said aloud, "I may be older, but I'm not tired. I'm just finally living smarter." Let me know if you'd like me to voice over a short part of this in audio. You can pick from 6 AI voices. Certainly. Here's a 200-word paragraph that brings Sylvia's transformation to a thoughtful and uplifting close. One afternoon, as Sylvia sat in her newly decluttered reading nook, once a corner cluttered with magazines and unused throw pillows, she reflected on how different her days had become. There was a rhythm now, a quiet steadiness that felt like freedom. Letting go of chores she once believed were non-negotiable had opened up mental space, not just physical space. She noticed details again, the way the sunlight warmed the floorboards, the hum of birds outside, the joy of finishing a book without glancing at the clock. Her relationships had deepened too. With fewer distractions and no obsession with spotless perfection, she was more present, laughing more freely, listening more closely. Her family noticed the change. "You seem happier, Grandma," her granddaughter said one day, curling up beside her with a cup of cocoa. Sylvia smiled. "That's because I am. I finally stopped doing what I thought I was supposed to do and started focusing on what I want to do." In simplifying her home, she had simplified her soul. And in her 70s, Sylvia wasn't slowing down. She was finally blooming, one chore crossed off at a time. Would you like to turn a portion of this story into an audio voiceover sample?